Hey everyone, welcome to Module 1. In these videos, we're going to go through a whole bunch of different features from the module. We'll do this for basically the first 10, and then we'll see what happens from there. If you're in the online section, this could help you along with the textbook and the lessons to figure out what's going on. If you are in the in-person class, we'll be going through many of the examples and maybe putting up some of those online as well. But we'll be going through a lot of the features of Excel. I hope it's going to help you learn a lot because there's a lot of different functions. If you have any questions on the content of the module, please let me know. My email address is on the Moodle page, sydney.shapiro@cambriancollege.ca. By the way, I'm Sydney Shapiro, and I'm excited to teach this course. It's going to be a lot of fun. So for Module 1, on the textbook, you'll see page EX2 shows you the Outlook. And when you first turn on Excel, you should get something like I'm looking at. If you're on a Mac or if you're on a different version of Excel, it may look slightly different, but you still shouldn't have a problem. If you do have an issue opening the files and you're using a very old version of Excel, please speak to me and we'll try to figure something out. So I'm going to open up a blank workbook and resize the window a bit. And this is what it looks like. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the features of what's going on. So here down the bottom is the status bar. Over here is the current sheet. So you can see that we're on sheet number 1. I could add a sheet and I'm on sheet number 2. I can go back and forth. So basically, this workbook could have multiple sheets inside of it. The one that's popped up like this is the one that's active. So let's say I add a number over here and I go into sheet 2. Now it's on a brand new sheet. So as you can see, if I click into a box, it lets me enter a number or text or information into that box. Here on the right-hand side, I could zoom in and out. Okay, so let's look at some other features. Here are the columns that go across the top, and I could resize them like so. And these are rows, and I could resize them as well. If this is really basic, don't worry, there's going to be plenty more exciting things. Now, your ribbon, this is a ribbon bar along the top, might be slightly different than mine. I have some extra things plugged in like developer. But if they're all the same, that's okay, as long as you have the basic features that we're going to need. Now, here, you'll notice that as I click around, this is called the name box in this box, and it lets us define where we are. So I'm going to click on A1, see row row 1, column A. And you'll see when I do that, it pops up the word A1 in the corner. It tells me where I am, just like in Battleship, right? If I highlight multiple cells, it will give me a range. So we'll say like, that is not what we're looking for. But basically, it would be like A1 colon B2, and it would let me select all those squares. Or A1, and I can drag down like this, A1 to A15. Okay, so we're going to talk about that. And we could change these words in here to have custom names, which will allow us to do some cool things as well. Okay, so we have tabs along the top, like we talked about. And inside the tabs are these little palettes of buttons, and those buttons do different things depending what they are. You'll notice that this main one, the home one, is pretty similar for the most part to Microsoft Word or other programs you may be familiar with. Okay, this is a really important bar in here. This allows you to enter formulas, and we can see what's happening in the cell beneath what is the numbers are showing. Okay, here we could type in for help, tell me what you want to do, and pull up some help. Let's see what else. I'm logged into my school account right now, so you see that it says my name up at the top. Yours might have your name or not be logged in at all, depending on which version you have. And that is pretty much it. Okay, so these are cells. If we select multiple cells, it's a range. And that's basically all the major features of the interface, right? Pretty much everything you have to know. So far we started a workbook, we opened it up, and I'm just looking through page 4 and page 5. And let's open the example from the text, and that is the finances file. Okay, so in my version, it says, be careful, files on the internet can contain viruses. So I'm going to press enable editing, and it's going to turn that on and let me edit it. So I'm going to close my first one I opened. I'm not going to save that. And here we go. Okay, so if you look at page 5, this is exactly what we have open. The name of the file is up here at the top. In the formula bar, I have Peter Lewis cell selected, so it shows me Peter Lewis in the formula bar. The status bar says ready, calculate, etc. And so far, so good. Okay, so page 6, we go through some shortcuts. And we talked about touch mode. We could click at the bottom like we talked about and go to the different sheets of the game card report. So the first one is documentation. So this would be like our cover page. And then we can have income statement, expenses, balance sheet, and cash flow. Okay, so we have little graphs, we have the numbers, etc. Okay, so normally at this point I would say, do you have any questions? But that's difficult to do in a video. So I'll assume that you have none, and we'll move on. Okay? So let's take a look at income statement, which is on page 10. So here we have gross sales, and there's a number 417,600, and you'll notice that that number has a dollar sign, which we could turn on by going here. See, making it a dollar sign. And we could pick a currency if we wanted. I'm going to just pick dollar. Or we could right-click and go to Format Cells, and then in here pick what kind of number we're interested in. And we can pick general, number, currency, etc. So I'm going to pick currency, and I'm going to press OK. Then it says less returns and allowances. Okay, so this is the total of returns and allowances. And in this cell, you'll notice where it says 383,500, there's a formula. So the formula is equals B6 minus B7. So take this number and deduct that number. And then this is what's left over. Okay, so let's do a similar example. All I do to tell Excel that I'm about to enter a formula, I press equals, and I grab the top number, minus the bottom number. You'll notice that they highlight in red according to which one I clicked on, so you know which one's which. And if I click a different one, it will have a different color. We don't want to do that. And I'll hit enter. So instead of showing up as a formula, which you can now see in the formula bar, it actually shows you the result like we see on this line right here. Okay? Okay, so now we zipped along to page 12, and let's look at what they do in their examples. I'm just going to click where it says income and drag a box around all of these cells. And you'll notice that when I do, a little box pops up at the bottom, which is my quick analysis, which I can open with Control Q. So I hit that, and then right away it will show me data bars. You'll notice that the number at the top is the biggest, so it has the biggest bar. The number below it is smaller, has a smaller bar. I could do that with color bands, icons, etc. I can also put in a chart, right? So this will show me net sales or net sales minus returns, and so on. So let's say we want to do a pie chart. I just press that, and boom, it pops it in there, right? There's other ways to set this up, and we're going to talk about charts in detail because there's a lot of other ways to look at them. But for now, this is a really easy way to do it. You click on the numbers, you go into your quick analysis button, and you could do a whole bunch of different calculations. You could add different features, charts, etc. Okay. So unfortunately, I can't do everything for you, so you'll have to do a little bit of reading as well. And now we're on page 18. And like it says in the text, entering information is as simple as typing it in, right? So you click on the box, you type it in, and we're pretty good to go. You could press Control Z to redo, Control Y. We can click on the item to edit. Okay, so following forward, try out the autocomplete on page 20 and 21. That is a really cool exercise. And then go forward, displaying numbers as text and working with dates. This is an activity that you could do just by typing in the information. On page 25, we talk about resizing columns and rows. And to resize a column or row, you simply grab it in between and move it over like this. We can also automatically do that, and that would let us do all of them at the same time if we have a huge number of columns and rows, by clicking here and do row height or auto fit height or auto fit width. Right, so we're able to adjust the width and the height using these buttons right here under Format, and I'm under Home. Right. Okay, so now let's go back, and we see this is great, except it's really long, and we could type information here, but then this would get cut off. Right, that's not good. So if we want to wrap this so we can see it all the time, simply, and now we're on page 27 and 28, we'll select the text, select the box, and you'll see that we know that this is selected, but actually selects all this text because it shows up in the formula bar. And then we'll press where it says wrap text. There we go. So then maybe we want to like resize this a little bit and resize it this way a little bit, just to make it look nice, right? This is often an issue when we're working on headings, and they might have more words than we would normally have. We want to make them work, so we could press wrap text or merge and center. What merge and center will do is combine the boxes together. So for example, I could take these two boxes, merge and center will actually make one cell the size of two cells. The only problem with this is that if we're doing this, I can't access this cell C6 anymore, right? It got overridden by B6. And the problem with that is that if I'm using certain kinds of tables or I'm trying to find that information, let's say I have like a row of numbers here, then that would be bad because I wouldn't be able to access this cell. It's gone. So to avoid that, I would probably not use merge and center, but instead I would use word wrap and either shrink the text inside or change the spacing to make sure that you can see all the text, something like that. So if you're following up to this point, congratulations, you successfully made it to the end of session 1.1. We're going to do a couple more videos for this module to go through 1.2 and I think that's it, 1.2. And then we'll look at putting in formulas and using functions. So I'm going to divide this into two videos. We'll pick up with the next one. And again, if you have any questions, please let me know.